Hello, good afternoon, good evening for Maria. This is Coua and this is Legacy Stories. And I thought of today's topic, so that's why I am introing and not Maria, but I'm just going to let Maria say hi really quick before I get into what we will be talking about today.
Hi, it's coming straight from Macedonia to you guys. It's 8 p.m. It's our regular time, which is like 1 p.m. And look where I am. I mean, you guys can't see much. You can't see much of the mountains. I really wanted to show. Maybe next time I can show the mountains, but mountains are really pretty. And we've been driving around. We've been seeing family and relatives, and it's insane and awesome. And I'll give you some other time my impressions because I feel it's not fair to give you the impressions of only one country since I'm going to the two.
Mm,
So,
cannot wait for
yes,
that. I cannot wait.
I
If you guys are
know.
not following Maria already on Facebook or Instagram, go ahead and follow her now. She has been sharing just photos from where she is, and it looks beautiful. And it's so nice just to see her with her family having a good time, relaxing, enjoying each other. And plus, she always writes the best captions. Like I love when she shares her thoughts. So give Maria a follow on social if you
Well,
are not
thank
already.
you for promoting me.
Absolutely shameless plug.
Yes,
Okay.
go for it.
So today we are going to be talking about thought work and how thought work doesn't work if you just do thought work. And I'm the one that kind of like created this topic. This is something that came up for me, and it came up because I had a one-off coaching session yesterday with a prior client, and we were talking about just this. She told me like what's been going on in her life, and she's like, and I've been doing all of the journaling, I've been doing the self-coaching, I see myself having to do it over and over. And I just, like, for me intuitively, I just knew, like, when she got on, like I saw her, like her breaths were really shallow, and I could tell like she was like hunched up like this, like her energy just felt really heavy. So for me, that was like, okay, you have been doing the thought work, but what hasn't been happening is like your body hasn't caught up. Like our minds are so fast, our minds are faster than our bodies, and if we don't give our body that chance to catch up, that's why the thought work doesn't work. Like the body and the mind works together, it has to be integrated. That was a lot, Maria. What do you have to add, or what do you have to say, or what comes
If
up
I'm
for
late,
you?
if I'm late is because I'm muting myself. There's a lot of dogs and they
Okay,
bark loudly. So I'm like, if I'm late to respond, I'm unmuting myself.
got it.
Um, so this is what comes up for me.
Mhm.
I totally agree with this and understand this because when I learned thought work, I was a little bit learning it directly from Brooke Castillo, who came up with the model. But I was in her program for a really short period of time, like a month. But
Mhm.
I really learned thought work from Cara Lowenthal, who started this program called The Clutch, like the Feminist Mindset Revolution. And her program is very specific to a point where it starts with emotion. It doesn't
Mhm.
start with your thoughts. It
Mhm.
starts telling you start just feeling stuff. Start trying to
Mhm.
get into your body. She's one of those people who says for herself is like, I don't want to be in the F line. I don't want to be in the feelings line for the,
Yeah.
sometimes for certain type of people, like our thing is like, go take the action. Like, what are you thinking? And
Yes.
go take the action. And we want to skip the feeling line. But the thing is, it's
Yes.
like that's why she teaches it because she understands the importance of
Mhm.
feeling. So for me, from the beginning, I was also wrestling with it because it did not come naturally for me to feel. It was
Mhm.
very hard. Like I don't want to say very hard. I don't. It's my experience, but it took me a while to realize what emotion was kind of had a sensation in my body, and sometimes even now I'll like understand mentally what's going on, and it takes
Yeah.
me a minute to be like, okay, calm down. You need to go in your body. What's going on in
Yeah.
your body?
Yeah.
Because the main part that when I started the clutch was she really wanted to get into our mind that the way to stop your mind is to go inside of your body because the drama
Mhm.
is up here and it's like you're
Mhm.
disconnected. But if you're trying to get
Mhm.
into your body
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, my belly is feeling this way, I'm breathing this way, I'm clenched, like my heart
Mhm.
is racing faster, like I feel like, I always say like there's a little elephant on my chest. Like you don't even have to
Mm,
know what that emotion is, but
yeah.
just feeling those sensations, it takes you out of your head. And the funny thing is like the drama's gone then, like you've taken it out a few
So
notches.
good. Hmm.
Yeah. So like for me, I've always been that way. I've always understood it. And I understand that there's different coaches and different philosophies. And for some people, thought work is about thoughts. And I'm just like, I'm so lucky that I was in the group. They're like, if you submitted question for coaching, if you got coaching from Kara, or if you're like even like in our Facebook group, if you post, people were asking you about those emotions because I naturally wouldn't go for them. Like it would not
Absolutely.
be my inclination. Oh, let me feel the feelings. Like hell no, it
Yeah.
feels like hell in there. You don't want to
Right.
feel that. But like
Yeah.
it feels so bad because you're making so much drama about it. When you actually feel the sensation, it's
Hmm.
like, oh, it's still bad,
Hmm.
but like you've taken it down 10 notches, and then you're like, yes,
Mm,
this situation freaking sucks. And I am
mm,
sad about this. But then you've taken out the drama, which was like bringing anger and anxiety and all of that.
mhm.
And I'm just like, I am a big proponent on it. And it's like a habit that I'm still trying to
A
build.
100%, 100%. I love how you said that there. And it was the same thing for my client. Like the feelings that she was feeling that was bringing up this like whole huge dramatic story, right? Was she felt abandoned and she was feeling pressure. And nobody like that feeling of abandonment, like it's like, why the hell would we want to look at it? We wouldn't, right? Like our natural, like my natural defense would be, okay, let's just push it down. Let's kind of like avoid it. Let's make it go away. Like let's try to like fix it. Like let's get a quick fix out of it because I want to escape this feeling as fast as I can. And I was just telling her, I'm like, well, that's just what we're used to doing. That's just our pattern because no one really, unless you actually go into like a program like the Clutch, no one teaches you that actually the thing to do is just like acknowledge that the feeling's there. Like, hey, this is here. Like, let's get curious about this. Actually
Exactly.
face it.
It's, and the thing is like, but we are not taught, but I think kids in school would be brilliant to teach them. But then the whole system might fall apart. It's like feeling is a sensation in our body. It won't kill us if we feel it. It's
Right.
just a sensation in our body.
Mm-hmm.
But we are so disconnected here and here, like our body and our
Mm-hmm.
mind are so disconnected that, like,
Yeah.
how many times do you eat when you're not hungry? How many times do you like overwork yourself? How many times are you like, not listening to your body for basic
Absolutely.
needs? Like, there's women who don't go to the bathroom because they don't listen to their body because they're like, I need to do this
Yeah.
work, like their
Yeah.
mindset. Like,
Oh,
and let alone
so
like the
good.
emotions that scare us, like anxiety. People are scared of anxiety. The thing with
Mm-hmm.
anxiety is like, yes, there's people that have clinical anxiety that need medication. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's different notches of it. But sometimes the anxiety, you have anxiety on top of anxiety. You have anxiety about having anxiety, which makes the whole experience worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like allowing the sensation and sitting with it. And again, I am not a pro. I know more theory than practice here, but based on me, if I am overwhelmed and I can just come back to myself and be like, just
Mm-hmm.
sit with it, just feel
Yeah.
the overwhelm will go away
Mm-hmm.
and the drama will go away too. And even if the drama doesn't come back, you just realize that, hey, when I'm overwhelmed, it's really hard to breathe. I take like a lot of shallow, like it becomes very, you really understand it. And you're like, wait, what are like, overwhelm is not, doesn't have to stop you. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
mean anything about you. It takes so many notches out of the whole problem.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the whole like, oh my gosh, I have to pee, but let me finish this quick. Like that resonates so much with me because for so long I was that woman that did that. And I feel like just really recently, like the past year, maybe year and a half, that I finally started listening to my body and be like, okay, I have a signal to go pee. I'm just going to go pee. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I don't know why. Maybe it's a societal thing that's like, no, you just push through. You ignore your body. You just push through, do what you need to do, finish, then you go. But it's like, no, you listen to your body first. Um, And speaking of listening to your body, this morning I checked my credit card statement, and like I went through that whole, like, in real time. I saw myself go through that process of like, shit, my body is like freezing up, like a feeling the fear, like something was gonna get me. And then it's like, because I intuitively knew that I was looking at myself from like the outside, I just kind of let it sit in me. And I definitely took a few deep breaths. And I knew in the back of my mind, like, okay, I like, if this is something that I really want to write out and I want to process this, like, I don't just want to sweep it under the rug. And so I just took the time to do that this morning, to journal on, why am I feeling this way? Why is this coming up? What am I feeling in my body? And it's almost like the reassurance for me, because I think a lot of times, like, I don't want to feel the feelings in my body because I just feel scared. Like, I don't feel safe. Like something is going to get me. And I think that creating the safety for yourself from yourself is just so, like, such an important part of being able to feel your feelings.
Yeah, it's like literally I use thought work. That's what I've learned how to do it. Use
Mhm,
thought work to create safety for myself. I will like literally have
mhm,
basic thoughts to practice when I realize that I'm like, oh shit.
mhm,
The thing is, it's like just part the part that I've had to learn is when you learn first how to do thought work and how to. I had a coach and I was in a I was in a group, and then eventually I got a one-on-one coach. So I knew how to self coach myself, and then I had a coach too.
mhm,
And the thing was, when you learn the model, when you know how to change your thinking to feel better, a lot of us just want to do that. We just want to keep changing our thoughts so we keep feeling better, but that doesn't work because you're running away from your feelings.
yes.
You can't run away from feeling bad. You can't always change all the thoughts, and eventually it catches up with you.
Mhm,
Because when we work on changing our thoughts, the old patterns, we don't erase them. We just build, like, if you think about it, our brain is literally like a net. So, what happens when you're practicing brand new thoughts to feel better about something? You're adding more to that net. You're not taking old stuff. Yes,
mhm,
nerve connections, as we see when we're growing up and everything, we forget stuff and everything. Like, we lose some connections, but that takes time. That doesn't happen like overnight. It takes a
mhm,
lot of practice and a lot of like to start losing some of the old stuff and some of the
mhm,
patterns that we've been using for 20, 30, 40 years. That doesn't go away overnight. That stuff stays. So
mhm.
sometimes you'll build this new network, but the old one is still there and it's going to come up and it's going to cause the emotions over and over again. Even if you have some positive emotions over that, like the change doesn't happen. So if you keep trying avoiding emotion, you're really not making the change. You're just
Mhm.
creating more, I don't want to say suffering, but you're kind of avoiding it. The part of this
Yeah.
work that's really important that I love is the fact that I had to learn for myself. There's two things. First thing is like like that life is 50-50. Like
Mhm.
everything in life is 50-50. And I thought that I understood that. And then recently I got coached and it's like parenting is also 50-50. It's like, oh shit,
Mhm.
something in the world is gonna happen. And we have a
Mhm.
bank of thoughts, right, that we collect. And our brain just tosses out random thoughts based on whatever it resonates with in that moment based on what's happening. And like some of those thoughts are going to cause us to feel not so great. Some are going to like that bank is there. It's like, tossing out random thoughts. So if we're having these situations in life and we're trying to constantly feel good and trying to constantly be positive and trying to constantly change our thoughts to feel better, we're not allowing the 50-50 on life, which is just like, hey, life is just going to suck sometimes.
Mhm.
And when you realize that and you allow your negative emotions, the funny thing is life starts sucking less because you're like, oh, here's the 50% that's like crappy. Okay. Like you're kind of like, okay, this is the crappy part. Oh, good. Right. Like
Yeah.
you're kind of almost like brings a little bit of relief. We were traveling recently. Our flight was ridiculously delayed. And then the next flight when we were traveling here was delayed again, and we were stuck on an airport and everything. But I'm like, hey, if this is the 50% that's crappy of this trip, I'll take it. That means the rest of the trip is gonna be quite darn amazing. So what if the flight is crappy? Okay, it's crappy. But I did not go into what I would have gone previously, which would
Yeah.
have been like, oh my God, this is horrible. I hate this. They're lying, they're cheating, da, 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 da. I didn't go into that drama of like the flight is late. Yeah, I freaking hated it that it was late,
Mhm.
but I didn't add more layers. And I just
Yeah.
sat there and I was just like kind of trying to allow those emotions, just thinking like, hey, life is 50-50, and kind of
Yeah.
allowing to be frustrated. Yeah, this
Yep.
sucks. We're tired. The kids didn't want to sleep in the plane. Now everybody's sleepy. And this is kind of a crappy situation. But that was the crappy situation. I did not add more crap to it. I didn't fight with the people working there. I didn't make drama for myself in my brain. And it's like, oh, like the life is 50-50. Just it releases the pleasure for me and allows me to feel that negative emotion without building more on it.
Mm. So
And
this
I
is
said
based.
there's two, and I forgot two. I forgot what the number two is.
So what I heard is this: when you don't feel your life, you're basically not even present in your life. It's like you're missing the whole point of life itself. So, and
Yeah,
I think that's a really big key of why you want to feel your feelings so that you're actually present in the here and the now, because really that's what matters, the here and the now.
yes,
So you can't like, don't take the feeling out of it. Like that means like all the feelings, right? That means even the good feelings, because how you do one thing is how you do other things. So if you're like pissed half the time, you can bet that when you're happy, that's not like your full happiness, because it's like you've learned to kind of like tone all the feelings down. So it's like you're missing
yes,
out on like that, oh my gosh, feeling super, really, really good, really, really happy.
yes. Well, Brene Brown is really big on like the shame and everything. And she always says, if you numb one feeling, you numb them all. And I think that's where I was, and a lot of people are, because you numb yourself out to feeling
Yeah.
uncomfortable
All
with
the bad,
yourself.
all the bad feelings. And you don't realize
Yeah.
you're doing that to the good stuff too.
But you know what? We don't realize that we produce those feelings. It's our
Mhm.
own thinking that makes us feel bad. The way that we talk with
Mhm.
ourselves is the worst. Like the way that
Yeah,
we talk with ourselves, that's what produces the most of the negative feelings. It's not even
absolutely.
about situations, but how
I
we speak
agree.
with ourselves. That produces the most negative emotion because we are with ourselves the whole time. And if we have
Mhm.
negative self talk, that's like the thing
Mhm.
that produces so much negative emotion. So, like, the first thing that if you want to fix something, how do we talk to ourselves is the number one question.
Mhm.
Let alone the outside drama that happens, but how do we talk to ourselves? And we produce this negative emotion. And as you said, you want to numb out the bad because you don't want to feel the bad. You don't want to take the other 50% of life. We are taught this crazy idea. And this is like commercialized idea that's like we're supposed, especially in this country, that we're always supposed to be happy. Like,
Mhm.
reach this figure, you'll be happy. Get this degree, you'll be happy. Buy this product, you'll be happy. Lose the weight, you'll be happy. Get married, you'll be happy. Have babies, you'll be happy. It's like society, it's commercialized messages, is everything. The thing is, none of those things are going to make us happy. And the key is not to always be happy, because if you're always be happy, it'd be so freaking boring. Imagine that. Like, even if you
Mhm.
were happy all the time and you were shooting dopamine all the time, it's like drug. You don't even feel that happiness after you get used to all that amount of dopamine. Then you would need more happiness. So you would need to start doing some other crap to get happier.
Yeah. That's so good. And I think that segues perfectly into like tips. And that was a tip right there, like asking that question that you just said. Like, what was it like? How, oh my gosh, what is the question? Was it how do I want to feel? No, how to think about yourself, how you think about yourself. I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
How
Yeah.
do you how do you talk to yourself in your own
Yeah.
head?
How do you talk to yourself? Yes. So I think
And
that's like, go ahead.
yeah, that's the perfect one, isn't it? But I'm like,
Yeah.
but you know what? We think if we're not saying, oh, you crazy bitch, oh, you idiot, oh, you're stupid, that we're not talking to ourselves meanly. The funny thing is, I found, like, I thought I'm okay with myself, and then I found like more layers underneath. Thinking about how you should have done stuff in the past, thinking about how you should do stuff in the future, thinking these ways that like we're not directly being mean to ourselves and directly beating ourselves up, but like these are under layers that we undermine ourselves so much and we put
Mhm.
so much pressure on ourselves that you're not really noticing that you're talking to yourself that way. You don't think it's a bad, but then I recently heard somebody explain it even better. Actually, it was Kara maybe. They said, "Would you say that to a 4-year-old child?
Mhm.
Like the way that you talk to yourself? Would you say
Yep.
that to a 4-year-old child? Would that be mean? Like if somebody said it to a kid in front of you, would you be like, "What the
Yeah.
heck's wrong with you?
And I
You
think
should
you
be
can
doing
even,
this, you should be accomplishing this, you should weigh this much, you shouldn't have done that." Like it's like
yeah,
the should is like the secret, like that it was a layer that I found. It's like, oh crap, I'm still beating myself up. Like I'm just not saying
yeah,
like, oh you stupid, oh you idiot, or you're like, I'm just,
mm,
so I just want to share that. What's your first tip?
yeah. So, so good. I was gonna say with that, like, okay, would you say it to 4-year-old? You can even make it more personal for yourself by saying, would you say it to your own child? Because that really bridges the gap. Because your child is essentially kind of like you, right? Like that's also your inner child in a sense. So it's just something to think about. But my tip would be, first of all, like, don't ever underestimate the power of like taking 3 deep breaths. Like when you notice, like when the moment you become aware that you have gone down the rabbit hole, that you have jumped in the pool, that you are having these shitty thoughts, you stop and you take at least 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Because what that does for me is it's kind of like it resets me. It clears something out. It releases whatever the heck was happening. And it's like a fresh start or something. At least that's how I feel. Like, okay, like I think I can handle this now. Like just more even keeled, more level headed, if anything. So that would be like my tip is just noticing right away when you have that awareness to take the deep breaths.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good tip. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I agree with you. I try to do that too. Cause I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, what the hell is going on? And then you try to breathe and it's like almost that first breath. It's like you can't take it. It's like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
But
right?
my next step is feeling the emotion. It's like, I want to just clarify this. When we talk about feeling the emotion, feeling the sensations in your body,
Mm-hmm.
if you do yoga, you know how, like, you're trying to pay attention to the breath. This is kind of like the same thing, trying to feel the emotion in your body, just closing your eyes, just feeling whatever's in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know what? This stuff does not come naturally. This stuff
Agree.
takes practice for a lot of us. And like,
Yes.
I don't want me saying this in a podcast and people thinking they can do it tomorrow. It took me about good 3 months of this work to kind of be like, oh, I am angry. Like anger was the first emotion that I knew it was anger, but I was not fully sensing it for a while. I could not get in my body to get all like the stuff. Like then it was like, I'm anxious. I am just now starting to notice when I'm joyful. And I am doing this work
Mm,
for almost 4 years.
yeah.
So it's like, don't put pressure on you. This isn't like, oh my God,
Right.
I need to feel my emotions. It's
No.
like, and it's like, there's no time limit. There's no way to do this right. But just like understanding that, like, being in your body will get you out of your mind. So just
Yes.
doing whatever you can. You don't
Okay.
even have to label the emotion, just doing something.
Agree. So I think that segues perfectly into my tip, which is what the heck is the something? And the something can be exercise of your choice, walking, actually going to a class, going to the gym, whatever it is, that's going to put you into your body. It's like forcing you to go into your body because guess what? When you exercise, you're noticing what hurts. You're noticing if you're out of breath. You're noticing like, oh shit, that's using my leg muscles or whatever. Like you are really putting that tension on your body. And the second thing, like, okay, well, how else can I do this? Meditation. Like that 100% takes you out of your head and it forces you to go into your body. I love when they're like, okay, now focus on your breath, or like they pinpoint me to focus somewhere And I love that. It's like, I'm not thinking it. Someone's directing me to go somewhere in my body. And it
Mm.
just helps so much to get out of my head. So I'm in my head all day long.
So I love that. That is so good. And I would add dancing to your list because I think dancing helps. But the
Yeah.
thing that how I'm taught, how I was taught during certification, and how, Kara taught us to do it, and how I do it mostly because,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just can't do it. You're just there. Like I'll literally go like at work when I was upset or something. I
Mm-hmm.
would go to the bathroom, or if I was just at my desk and no, there wasn't like, or like even at
Yeah.
home, like I'll just close my eyes and just be like, how
Mm-hmm.
Brooke and like I don't know, Kara, even were saying it. It's like just how would you explain your sensation to a child? How would you explain it to like there's an alien who came and has no freaking clue what emotions are, and they're like, what does that mean when you're angry? Like, how would you describe that to your or even like to yourself? Like
Yeah.
talking myself in my head, I would just sit there, close my eyes, and be like, okay, I feel like this really weird sensation in my belly. I don't know if it's hot or cold or like whatever. Like, is it
Mm-hmm.
expanding? Is it contracting? Is it pressure?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is your like how you're breathing? And just being there for like a minute or two.
Mm,
I don't need to be there like, and like, you kind of like get out of it myself.
yeah. So good. It's like you're
So
disconnecting from the head.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like 2 minutes. And I
Yep.
love doing the other stuff, right? Like if
Yeah.
I feel a lot of pressure, a lot of like, if I'm angry and frustrated, my thing to do
Yeah.
is to put like my rock band on that I like and just dance it out, sweat it
Yeah.
out, like really release it
Yes.
out of my body. But if
Yeah.
I'm there in the moment, now there's really good people. That I've had a coach for a few months, and she is like a trauma coach,
Mm-hmm.
and she was very helpful to actually release the emotion. Now, I've never gone that far with thought work. These are the people who are a little bit better at guiding you, and I've learned so much from her, but it's still hard to do it for yourself. So this is
Mm-hmm.
something that actually having a coach who is like, okay, like willing, like, she was very good at guiding me through releasing the emotion, as in like not just feeling the sensation and moving on with your day, but like actually when stuff comes up, to allow yourself to be in the body and to like do whatever you need to do for it to get out. And that
Mm-hmm.
is such a interesting process. Sometimes afterward, I would like cry more than ever. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I was relieved. And sometimes it's the
Yeah.
words. It's like there wasn't like one shoe fits all, but it was
Yeah.
such an interesting experience where it's like we can release some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a little truck driver running around with toys and like a very loud squeaky toy. So, Kua, why
It's
don't you
okay.
wrap this up and I'm gonna mute
Okay.
myself
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. So I hope
before
that
he
this
sees me.
I really hope that this has been helpful for all of you that are listening. The whole point here is to drive in that like thought work is powerful, but guess what? It can be even more powerful when you incorporate the body, when you incorporate the emotions and really get down into them, feel them, process them, and ultimately release the ones. Maria, it sounds like you have something to
Wait,
say. Yeah, yes,
I'm
yes.
like, wait, we
What?
forgot our immigrant part. I'm like, I
What?
just want to go back into one thing.
Yeah,
Culturally speaking, we were not also taught how to feel our emotions, right? It wasn't like
absolutely.
somebody said, like, feel
Yeah,
your emotions, sit with them.
yeah.
But in our culture, like Orthodox culture, and I think this is in a lot of cultures, like religion, the prayer is kind of like that part of almost like releasing some of the stuff. Older
Mm,
people who, like my grandmother, is big on like, she prays. And like when they go to church, they get very quiet and they pray. It's kind of like shutting down the brain.
mhm. Yeah.
So I just wanted to be like, as an immigrant, as somebody who comes from a different culture than US, the
Mhm,
only way that I too in that culture was taught about this stuff was through religion. Now my parents grew up in communism. We were not big churchgoers, but I can see it with older people and some people who do go to church and actually do pray. And when they do Lent, when they're fasting, like
mhm.
that's the period of cleansing. That's the period where we different foods, kind of like to, and like like, you're supposed to pay more attention and pray more and everything. And like actually religion
Mm,
in a way, and I'm not a big religious person, but I'm saying like the only way that you could learn it in my culture right now is through that. Now, how
mm,
about you, Kua? Did
so
you,
good.
like, coming from an immigrant family, growing
Yeah.
up here in US? I mean, there in US, because I'm not there
Yeah.
now.
I feel like there were not outlets to share our feelings. Like for sure, like my dad and mom, like, no, we don't talk about our feelings. But I felt like through my maternal grandmother, like she was just always so loving. Like I always sensed that from her. Like I always felt safe with her. So I always felt safe to like to just be with her and to be myself with her. So whatever that meant, like if I was sad, I knew I could go to her and cry. Like I didn't, and like I couldn't do that with my parents. So I almost feel like it was definitely, she had such a huge impact on me about like allowing my feelings to show, and that that was okay.
I love that. I love that. And culturally, we all say like meditation that does come from that part of the world
Hmm.
plays a huge role in mindfulness, and also like
Yeah.
get it out of your mind and into your
Yeah,
body. And it's like that's
absolutely.
just a little mention, but culturally speaking, that looking at the West, we are more boom 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 boom, go do work work work, accomplish accomplish accomplish. And
Hmm.
being then into Europe, being here now, it's a very slower pace.
Mm,
And I think until smartphones came out, like, yes, people found ways to distract themselves, but it was quieter and people were a little bit more spending time, I think, almost, I don't want to say feel our feelings, but more time like intentionally maybe thinking.
yeah.
Because right now we're in a society where also we don't actually intentionally think. We absorb these thoughts and they pop up because we're so busy and so numbed out that we actually don't
Yeah.
intentionally think on purpose.
Oh,
So
so
we
good.
lost the part where we think intentionally, and we
Yeah.
have not learned how to feel intention, like to allow our feelings. So yeah, like there's, my phone is yelling at me to recharge my battery. Uh, but yes, um, so that's just something that like was like, wait, I want to
Yeah.
talk about the immigrant people, and
Yes.
I'm sure that
Yes.
a lot of other cultures do not, like, there might be some in some cultures some more intentionality, as I said, through meditation and stuff, or
Hmm.
through religion. But that's very interesting to me, for me to learn, like, if there's a culture in the world that they are more, and I don't think so, because patriarchy and this system, that the world is kind of westernized and colonized and everything else.
Yeah.
It is patriarchal system, and emotions are
Yeah.
not really acknowledged.
They're not
So I don't know
welcomed.
if there's a culture in the world that's like more like teaches people as they're growing up, making emotions okay, and just, I would really love to hear more about that if there's anything on there.
Yeah. So good. All right. Well, thank you
Yeah.
all for listening. This was such a wonderful episode to like deep dive into our feelings. It might have been like a little weird for you guys, but I think feelings are something that need to be talked about because they do matter. And you matter too. And thank you for listening. We'll talk to you guys
Thank
next time.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, Kua.
You're welcome. Thanks, Maria.